It is fight time. In fact, it is main event time here at the Reseda Country Club. Welcome back, Barry Tompkins, along with Tommy Morrison, Michael Nunn, and Rudy Nix. Tommy, Rudy Nix was in a situation very similar to this one other time. He fought Ernest Mateen, a light heavyweight who was literally one fight away from a championship, and he knocked him out. And Rudy Nix says, I did it then. I don't see any reason why I can't do it again tonight.
Well, Rudy Nix, as we mentioned earlier, it prefers to stay busy. You know, he always does. Michael Nunn, on the other hand, likes to move a little bit. So I think this has the ingredients to be a much more competitive fight than people think.
And for Michael Nunn, he's a guy who comes in here thinking not so much about what's going on tonight, but about what's going on down the road. Michael Nunn would best think about what's going to happen tonight because he does have, with a win, big things down the road. With blazing speed and surprising power, Michael Nunn has dazzled opponents for 12 years, battling his way to 2 world championships in the process. Early in his career, he was guided by Dan and Joe Goosen. Undefeated during that time, he captured the IBF middleweight title. But then, seeking to improve upon that success, he split with the Goosens, a move which proved to be a mistake.
At the time, it was very detrimental for me because at the time I was 36-0 with Joe. I had never lost a fight, and to this day, I've never lost a fight with Joe Goose. I think it was a wise decision for me and the Goosens to reunite and reconcile our differences, get back together.
How costly was the separation? Well, it was during that period that he suffered the only 3 losses of his career. But with his return to the Goosen stable, he's regained the focus and determination which made him a world champion and climbed to number 2 in the WBC rankings.
My only incentive in boxing is to be a world champion. I mean, I don't just want to fight to just say I'm a fighter and tell people I'm a boxer. I mean, my only devotion and motivation is to be a world champion. If I can't be a world champion, they're going to give me a fight. I want to fight the best guys in the world next time. They happen to be Roy Jones and Virgil Hill, so those are the guys Michael Nunn's aiming at.
With that in mind, tonight's fight is a crucial test because a victory here places him one step further on the road to a shot at a 3rd title. It's a challenge he says he's well prepared for.
Michael Nunn's looking to the future. You know, the past is the past, but I'm not looking for the past. I'm looking into the future now, so I'm looking forward. I'm not looking backwards. You know, I got my focus back. I've dedicated myself and working hard, and I just want to be the best I can be.
Michael Nunn is 2nd time around, and this is just another step on the 2nd time around, according to Michael Nunn. But as we said, he's got a pretty tough hombre in there with him tonight here at the Reseda Country Club, and he's going to have to keep his mind on business before he can think about that next step, and that is, of course, guys like Virgil Hill and Roy Jones. And here is Michael Nunn. He was very confident when we spoke with him yesterday, but that's the nature of the beast. He is like that. And the question for him is which Michael Nunn is going to show up. Is it going to be the Michael Nunn who ran roughshod through the middleweight division a few years back? Or is it going to be the Michael Nunn who has had momentary lapses in his boxing career?
Well, he seems to be the type of guy that, tonight anyway, seems to be focused coming to the ring. But again, as we talked earlier, he could be basing or trying to relying on his experience to get him through this fight, knowing that he's fighting a guy that's a little bit inexperienced, but a tough goer.
And the other thing, of course, is he feels, and he told us, that he not only has to win, he feels he's got to get a knockout win in this fight. Now, he's a guy who has gotten a lot of knockouts, but generally he's gotten them by attrition, just worn his man out. He's not a guy who's going to get you out of there with one punch. Now, he's got to keep in mind, dance with what brung you. Don't go in there and try to be something you're not.
That's exactly right. A lot of fighters get away from the true skills that make them what they are. There's so many different trainers out there that have different methods of teaching, and for every fighter there's a certain style that works for him, and it's up to the trainer to find out what that style is and to prepare him accordingly.
And just as we say, Michael Nunn needs to pay attention to business here and not worry about the layoff that he has had while 2 or 3 fights have fallen out. The same can be said about his opponent, Rudy Nix. And as I said, I've done a couple of Rudy Nix's fights, and I know he is a very tough guy, but he has to be really prepared to fight this fight too, and he's only had 3.5 weeks to prepare for it. So we'll see. Let's go to the ring announcer, Michael Buffer.
now, ladies and gentlemen, America presents and Fox Sports Net bring you the main event of the evening, sanctioned by the California State Athletic Commission. Chairman is Bill Eastman. Vice Chairman Willie Buchanan. Executive Officer Richard DeCure. Physicians in attendance are Dr. Robert Carnes and Dr. Blair Cranston. The timekeeper is Debbie Garcia. This bout is also sanctioned by the North American Boxing Federation. NABF supervisor at ringside is Louis Burke. The 3 judges assigned to this bout, scoring on the 10-point must system, will be Hank Ellisbrew, Lou Filippo, and Tony Castellano. And when the bell rings, the man in charge of the action, your referee, Terry Smith. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the Country Club at Reseda, California, let's get ready to rumble! 12 rounds of boxing for the NABF Light Heavyweight Championship. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black trimmed with red, and weighing in at 175 pounds. He brings a record of 17 victories, 16 by KO, with only 2 defeats, 1 draw. He comes to us from Yakima, Washington. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the challenger, the Hideout Warrior, Rudy. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing white, trimmed with black and red, and weighing in at 175 pounds. He comes to us from Davenport, Iowa. His professional record, an excellent one of 49 victories, 31 by KO, with only 3 defeats. And he has captured 3 world title belts in his career. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the NABF Light Heavyweight Champion, former 3-time champion of the world, Michael Second to Nunn.
Terry Smith, the referee, giving the instructions to the fighters. Take a look at the tail of the tape in this fight. Michael Nunn, incidentally, also had to lose a couple of pounds after the weigh-in. I don't believe that would be a big deal, and the weigh-in was 24 hours ago, so there's been plenty of time to recoup. But decided reach advantage in this fight for Nunn, and in this case, Tommy, I think that could be a factor.
I think so. The speed of Rudy Nix will be interesting to see how, if he goes after Nunn, tries to be effective. What his hand speed's like, I'm uncertain of. But I think that hand speed certainly is going to play a big factor. It always does in Nunn's fights.
Now, Rudy Nix is a guy who said the first 3 or 4 rounds should be to the advantage of Nunn because he could utilize his speed. Nix's plan is pretty much to try to wear Nunn out, work him to the body, use the angles, and by all means keep your foot outside his. Nix would be much happier with a brawl. And the one thing that he has to really concern himself with, he has had a propensity to cut. The left eye has been cut on 4 different occasions. On one occasion, it required surgery, and that caused a layoff of almost a year. Each of these guys has had only 2 fights in the last year and a half.
Being a fighter, especially with Nunn being inactive for 2 years, as a fighter, sometimes you need some idle time, a chance to let your body recover. And I believe in many cases, quality rest proves to be a winning combination, allowing the person opportunity to stretch out his career and to mature as an athlete.
But they always say too, in tennis, for instance, they say you got to be game tough, you got to be match tough. Isn't that also true in boxing?
I certainly would think so.
Break. Step back. Okay, break.
Action in this first round as Nix tries to force the pace, and Nunn not quite as much on his toes as we've seen him in the past, and not quite working the jab as much as he will usually do, but feeling out process going on here. There's a good left hand from Nunn right on the button.
looks at Nunn, you can tell that Nunn likes to, he doesn't like to be on the inside. He's a sharpshooter, I guess, from the outside there. Having that left-handed style and having a little bit of range. He knows range very well.
Nick's got there with the right hand. Nick feels the middle rounds are crucial to him. That's not to say he just wants to survive really in this fight. Another good left hand from Nunn.
Little rosary, little swelling a little bit on the right eye of Rudy Nix. He's catching a little bit of an abrasion there. That straight left hand right down the pipe.
End of round one. And Michael Nunn effective in the first round. We'll take you into the corner of Michael Nunn. Joe Goosen, the man in charge.
Jabs, why even move in yet? Let him even touch you. Right under the right here. All right, you started picking up the uppercuts. That's what I was going to tell you to do. Plus, you're making a miss that right hand. You're getting off to the side of the miss. Go ahead and start dropping that left hand. Yeah, you know when you're dodging that right hand, you're the outside off the jab.
Have a look. And that came from left field, didn't it?
Good uppercut right there. And again, he always seems to know range real well, and he sets himself up perfectly in line with Rudy Nix's body to land that shot. You can tell that he's anticipating throwing that as he's coming in.
There you had. That could be a double-edged sword. It was a terrific punch. But that might also have been Nunn's best shot, and Nix is there. A lot of more straight. As we said, he's not a guy who's going to get you out of there with one punch. There's no question about that. He's always worked well off the jab.
It's like an overwhelming, accumulating type of fighter.